reduced benefits. The go-broke dates for Social Security and Medicare have been moved up by the trustees of these programs. Now, that doesn't mean the programs are going to run out of money and not be able to pay benefits, but they will be paying reduced benefits. Here's how it breaks down. By 2034, a year earlier than expected, Social Security will only be able to pay out 81% to Medicare. By the year 2033, a full 3 years earlier than expected, they will only be able to pay out 89% of benefit. Congress needs to take action in the way of raising more revenue. They can do that in several ways, including raising taxes on Americans, or the U.S. will need to borrow more money, which, Kana, we know would add to the U.S.'s debt.
Borrow more money or raise taxes. Those aren't two very good options, are they? Not really. And if you're like me, you're probably just tired of hearing how the trust fund will be depleted in 7 years, 6, 7 years. It just depends. It keeps changing. And that was an announcement that Social Security's own trustees made on Wednesday. They pulled the fire alarm cord. They said in 8 years, I believe it is 7, 8 years. Well, they're saying the trust fund will be drained so low that your monthly check could be slashed by they're saying by almost a quarter. And while you and I were counting every single dollar, America's millionaires and billionaires, they avoid paying their fair Social Security taxes. And they're benefiting from a payroll tax loophole that's already siphoned a whopping $1.4 trillion out of the system. Hi, my name is Lou Reyes. It's Friday. This is a live stream. It's about 11:30, and I am, just tired of hearing about the trust fund. But there's a solution, and that's what I want to talk about. There's a solution. And it's just not my solution. It's a solution that a lot of folks are very much aware of, but unfortunately, people aren't doing anything about it. But think about it again, please. $1.4 trillion has been siphoned out of the system while we complain or we hear about the big, beautiful bill and how it's going to increase the deficit by 2 point something or $3 trillion, whatever the number will be. We keep hearing about that, but yet there is a solution, a way that we could actually, I believe, save the system for the next 75 years. But I want you to think about it. I want you to let this number sink in. $1.4 trillion been siphoned out of the system. We know that Social Security, in my opinion, and I think in most of us out there, it's doing a good job. It's keeping 26 million, I want to say 26 million folks. It's keeping them out of poverty. And this includes folks like you and me. You know, we worked hard all of our life. We put into the Social Security system. We expect to get it out. But this system is rigged. It's rigged tax inequality, and it's really just quietly choking the life out of the most successful government program that we've ever had. And yes, I just said the most successful government program we've ever had, because that's another thing that we hear all the time about how the system, the Social Security system, it's really a drag on the budget, and it's causing the interest rates to rise. It's one of the reasons, and I could go into that. But what's really happening right now is the program can pay full benefits until 2033. Now, 2033, if you're 59 years old, 2053, you're 59 now. By 33, you'll turn 67, which means you could qualify for full retirement benefits if you want to wait that long. Some folks would want to do that. I think many folks are doing that now, and I'm seeing that by the data. But after that, when you turn 67, if you're 59 now, you turn 67, you're only going to get 77% of your promised benefits. They're going to be paid. They'll be paid to you unless something changes. And this new projection, it was released this past Wednesday, as I think I mentioned in the opening. And it was released in the trustees' annual report. Now, they say, or we're hearing, and this has been on the news, if Congress doesn't act, we've heard this many times, if they don't act, every Social Security check will be cut by 23%. Yeah, in 2033, as I said. And one thing that kind of helped push this program even closer to the cliff was a policy change called the Social Security Fairness Act. And it kicked in this past January. It It increased benefits for about 3 million, just over 2 million, almost 3 million folks. And they were government or public sector workers. And I actually did a video on this about this act. And don't get me wrong, helping these workers, giving them an opportunity to get Social Security, I think is a good thing. And there are a lot of folks out there who agree, and there's a lot of folks who disagree. But changes like this, when we're giving more folks, almost 3 million people, Social Security benefits, well, it does cost money. And the trust fund's already under pressure. So every expense matters. But I don't want to get distracted by this just one policy change. The bigger issue is this. The wealthy have been getting richer and richer, and they're not paying their fair share into Social Security.
Over the last 8 years, the wealth of America's billionaires more than doubled. And that's part of a larger trend. In fact, if you go back to 1990, there were only 66 billionaires in this country. There's more than 800, which you might say, okay, maybe that's a sign of prosperity, except that the median hourly wage in this country has only gone up about 20% in that time. It feels as if the rich have pulled farther ahead than ever before, and that's not an illusion. Right now, America's richest people hold a larger share of America's wealth than even the Vanderbilts, the Carnegies, and the Rockefellers did in the heyday of their prime, a century ago.
And what gets me about this, when I see a clip like that, is a lot of folks out there, they want to blame the boomers. And if you look at the comments that I get in my videos, you'll see folks saying, well, it's the boomers' fault. And these are people who are, I don't know how they even get on the channel on Over 50 TV, but they get on it. I'm glad they're at least looking at it. They're aware of something anyway. But they're blaming the boomers. They want to blame us. They say that we're retiring in droves, we're draining the system. But Social Security, I got to say, they saw this coming a long time ago. That's why way back in 1983, they raised the full retirement age from 65 to 67 to give the system more breathing room as we, you and me, as folks, as boomers, age out of the workforce. But the real problem isn't that we're aging out of the workforce. The real problem isn't that there's more boomers who are needing Social Security. And the real problem is not the demographics or the birth rates lower. The real problem is how Washington shields the rich from paying Social Security taxes on most of the income. And I think a lot of us just tolerate this. We accept this fact because it's a fact. We accept that, we don't have control. Our votes don't count. So we do nothing about it or do very little about it. We don't complain enough, certainly. We don't raise our voices high enough. But let me just tell you and explain a little bit about what I mean. A much bigger share of America's income is now going to the top. And that's okay. I'm not a socialist. I'm a capitalist of anything. And that's okay with me. But Social Security taxes income up to a certain limit. They're only taxing up to, in 2025, they're only taxing up to $176,100. So anything that you and I earn above that cap, it's not taxed. Okay, most of us don't earn $176,100 or more. We don't earn close to that. But I want you to think about this for those folks that do earn that. Tim Cook at Apple, he made $74.6 million last year. Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook, well, he pulled in $24.4 million. Starbucks CEO Brian Nichols, he pulled in over $95 million. I don't understand that number. And Brian, I follow Starbucks. That number doesn't jive with me and income. It doesn't seem fair that he's making that much money, given his performance only recently, by the way. But yet for Social Security, all of those folks are taxed on just $176,100. So Brian Nichols making $95 million, but he's only taxed on a sliver of that for Social Security. Meanwhile, folks like you and me, we're paying Social Security taxes on every single dollar that we earn. Does this sound fair to you? I mean, does this sound even right? The rich are taking a bigger and bigger share of the nation's income, but more of it is slipping past the Social Security payroll tax entirely. Experts say that if the cap had been adjusted over the years, the trust fund would have gained an additional, and I pulled in this number earlier, I talked about this earlier, $1.4 trillion since 1983. And that's when we went from the full retirement age is 65 to 67. But think about that too. Think about it. An additional 1.4 trillion since 1983 would have certainly helped. And going forward, just think about how it could help. We wouldn't have to be talking about, like in the beginning, that ABC reporter said, raise taxes or borrow more money. That doesn't make any sense. Let's look at what we can do, what we could do. Let's scrap the cap. Let's scrap that limit. Let's make the wealthy pay Social Security taxes on all of their earnings just like the rest of us. Now, there is a plan in Congress that I've been aware of, maybe some of you have too, right now, that would do exactly that. It would raise that cap. It would eliminate the cap on earnings over $250,000 and also include investment income in the Social Security tax. So you'd be taxed on your income and also on your investment income. I don't see anything wrong with that if you're making 20, 30, 97 billion to Starbucks CEO like he's doing. But including that, to me, would be fair. And now, if this would be to be passed, it could extend the program solvency for another 75 years, and it wouldn't raise taxes on 93% of American households. So when they talk about in the beginning of this thing, well, raise taxes, like I said, raise taxes or take out or borrow, just freaking go ahead and stop it, eliminate that cap. That's saying 250,000, which is what's in DC right now. Forget that. 176,000. No, there's no limit. You make money, you get taxed on it. Your Social Security gets taxed on it. And what I'm saying to you, it's not about punishing success. It's about protecting fairness. It's about making sure that Social Security is there for every generation, and not just the people, the folks like me who were lucky enough to get in before this whole system breaks down. And there's a lot of folks out there who watch this channel. I get people who are in their 40s watching it. They're going to have an issue if this isn't addressed. It'll be addressed somehow, some way, but it won't be addressed in a way that I think would be fair to all of us, for all of us who paid into the system. But the solution, what's fair? The solution in Washington, they have it. It's sitting right in front of them. But year after year, they choose to protect the wealthy donors who write the biggest checks instead of protecting the workers who paid into the system their entire lives. Now, if you're as frustrated as I am with this system, if you're tired of hearing how the trust fund's going to run out of money soon, it's, 8 years, 7 years, 6 years. I mean, it's going to keep changing. This is a moving target. There's no question in my mind. But if you're tired about hearing how the trust fund's going to run out of money soon, then share this video with some other folks. Let them know what's going on. Because I think the more people who understand what's really going on, the harder it'll become for Washington. It will be harder for Washington to keep looking the other way. And that's what they're doing. Every single day is looking the other way. So, yeah. So I'd love to hear your comments, if you agree, if you disagree with this. I can't imagine that folks don't have an opinion, especially if you're watching this video, because when I created the title, "How a Loophole for the Very Rich is Killing Social Security," I thought, this is killing Social Security, and unless we do something about it, what we're going to keep doing is waiting to fall off that cliff. We're all like lemmings, and we're all going to go off that cliff. And what's going to end up happening is not only is our Social Security going to be cut by maybe 25% or whatever the percentage ends up being, but we're going to see other cuts too in our retirement benefits, whether it's Medicare or for some folks, it's Medicaid. So yeah, I'd love to hear your comments. Go ahead, subscribe to this channel if you are so inclined. Also, I do have another channel called Side Hustle Rules. On that channel, what I do is I use my experience, somebody who, as a person who ran a chain of business-to-business magazines, a couple national trade show companies, half dozen other businesses at least. Yeah, use that experience to help folks start a side hustle, get their business rolling, and hopefully give them some other incomes. They don't have to depend on Social Security, which is more and more becoming just just a pain, just a pain to be keep worrying about it. It's so stressful for a lot of folks out there, and I get it. I get it. All right, that's all I got for you today. I am looking right now to go ahead on this intro. I am going to sign out. Have a great day. Don't forget to subscribe. Give me a comment. Watch my other channel, Side Hustle Rules. Have a great day, everybody.